All right, welcome to the Daily Market Recap for Wednesday, September 10th. In this video, we'll be taking a look at the action of the indexes, liquid leaders, industry ETFs, then end the video with long and short setups like we do with every daily recap. So if you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the market open and the trades that I personally take, you can sign up for the Discord using the link below. Getting into it, on the index level, pretty quiet day overall. NASDAQ had a nice big gap up into all-time highs, but we did open right at the high of the day, closed kind of middle of the range, up 0.03%, new all-time closing high, which is positive, and bounced above the 5-day moving average, didn't even have to test that. So good action overall on the NASDAQ. The S&P 500 a little bit stronger, up 0.3% today, with a gap up, higher highs, higher lows, also all-time highs. The growth stocks of the Russell 2000, a little bit more weakness there. Uppercut and fail of the resistance gap at highs of 52-week highs at least, or yearly highs. My bad. Bounced at the 10-day moving average, closed right around the 5-day. Still not doing anything wrong. ARKK, a little bit of gross action here. We gapped up, opened on the high above the resistance gap, sold off basically the entire day, came right back into the 20-day moving average and support gap. Ideally, we don't close below this and we can see just another higher low in the structure overall. A nice gap up tomorrow would be buyable versus today's low. And then Bitcoin, some strength today, getting over this pivot, getting into the 50-day moving average. This is using IBIT. So I know Bitcoin itself didn't quite get there, but some strength out of Bitcoin today, which is good to see because this has been lagging the market for quite some time now after the false breakout on August 13th. So hopefully that can get going again. And if it doesn't, I have a position in MSTZ and I'll profit from that. Going to the liquid leaders, we'll sort it by price percent change today. I did have to kick out FUTU, not FURU, FUTU, which has been a leading stock in China. I still have a position in it, not doing anything really wrong, just closing at the 20-day EMA. Nice little bull flag forming here, but there's just too much momentum in the rest of the market to focus on stocks that are sitting on their 20-day EMA. So I did add CRDO, which is extended here. This isn't stocks that I'm buying or current positions, anything like that. Just trying to keep a pulse on the best stocks in the market. And I think CRDO has been one of those stocks and definitely is showing it today, up another 10%, closing at the high of the day on a pickup in volume after another gap up. Really, really strong action. And the only place on this chart that I really look at and go, Nick, you should have bought that, was the first undercut of the support gap just above the 50-day moving average and reclaim of that area, or the follow through the next day to the upside. Usually the first test of the 50-day moving average, especially if it aligns with the gap zone, is a really good risk reward spot for the top names in the market. So shame on me for not taking that. A chart that I'm adding to my book of leading stocks and how they act. And you can see just monster price action here. Speaking of monster price action, we have BE. This is really starting to accelerate to the upside. Getting a little extended here from the lows back in April at $15 now to $60, so about a 300% move. I don't know how much more this has in its tank. A couple more gap ups and rally, and this could be like a parabolic short. But until we get that, right here, I don't think it's ready for a parabolic short. I think we definitely need like another gap up and go, and then maybe a third gap up. But we definitely are getting extended to the upside. Not a stock that I'm trying to start a new position at, but it is acting phenomenally and definitely deserves to be on the leaders list. AVGO might have heard me complaining about it yesterday, threatening that I'd take it off my leaders list because it acted phenomenal today. Gap up, opened on the low of the day, closed right near the high of the day, up another 9.8%. Just a monster move after yesterday's ugly action. But another kind of example of a ugly close, like a red candle on lower volume over the 5-day EMA is only bearish if you see follow through the downside. A lot of the times that's just consolidation before the next leg higher, especially if it's in the right group and we're in the right market, which we are. So awesome to see that price action from AVGO. ALAB, also kicking myself not taking this on Thursday off the HVC from earnings. Perfect entry. like basically bounced to the penny at the HVC. From there, went from 172 all the way up to 230. Another gap up and hammer candle today, closing at the high of the day. Phenomenal action out of the semiconductor. CLS, couple tight days after the gap up on September 5th. Today, undercut and reclaim of the support gap, closed right near the high of the day. Looks like it's ready for higher. APP, another gap up, kind of closed mid-range and is getting a little extended in the short term, but still awesome price action since being included into the S&P 500. Google continues to just ramp higher after the gap up. What was this? September 3rd, up 9% when it was announced that they didn't have to sell Google Chrome. Basically, has been straight up since then. Robinhood, a little bit of weakness today, finishing the day down 0.9%. Completely deserved a rest. We did get a gap up on overnight, came back into the HVC, closed right at that area. That'll be a spot to watch tomorrow. And then SoFi, a little uppercut and failure at new highs, closed back at the 10-day moving average. If this follows through the downside, we've got plenty of other stocks in the market to replace it on the leaders list with. Taking a look at some industry ETFs, gold miners continue to rocket higher. This is now just a frozen rope over the 5-day moving average. Another gap up, open on the low, close on the high. Definitely doesn't feel great that gold is outperforming so much. Usually that's a sign that the dollar is devaluing. Today, PPI inflation came in under expectations, so that's a good sign overall. But gold miners, I thought that that might be a sign that gold miners were extended. We'd get a nice pullback. Not the case. We just have this frozen rope, and I'm sure a lot of people are starting to chase this at this price. XME, metal and mining ETF, another new all-time high, little gap up, open on the low, close on the high. Great action there. XLE, energy ETF. Haven't really talked about this a lot in these videos because it's been lagging so much. It does look like it's putting in another higher low, bounced at the support gap under the 50-day moving average, rallied back up. Nice close today. So maybe this is a theme that's starting to kick off in the market. And then IGV, software stocks were hated all of August as we consolidated. We put in a higher low. We tested the 50-day moving average, a higher low, and then right back into highs. Just phenomenal action out of the software ETF. Semiconductors right at highs, uppercut and fail. The resistance gap completely fine. Even if it pulls all the way back to the 20-day EMA, this is just a nice base that we're working on here. Ideally, we get a higher low before just like new all-time highs, so that move can come with a little bit more power, but you don't always get what you want in the market. Couple other ETFs that were pretty weak today. Solar stocks, TAN, down another 0.2%, lower highs and lower lows. Watching the 20-day moving average and support gap as another higher low in the structure as a potential entry point. Chinese internet, not doing anything wrong. Here's your red candle on low volume over the 5-day EMA, like we talked about with AVGO. I think it's going to resolve higher. Home builders, ITB, really interested in this tomorrow. If we could come into the 20-day moving average and gap zone as another higher low, I'll be looking at buying NAIL, which is a 3 times leveraged version of ITB. And then biotech, still one of my larger positions, XBI. Well, I have LABU, the triple leverage version. Just bouncing between support gap below, resistance gap above. Which direction we break, we'll see. Um, I like how we held the support gap. Even if we come into the 10-day moving average, overall, like the 200-day is just starting to flatten out and turn back up. You have to expect a lot of volatility if you're trying to trade stocks that are just kind of emerging over the 200-day moving average. So having that in mind, I'm ready to hold on like a deeper pullback and try to add on any strength after that. I did trim a little bit last week, so profit wise, like this trade is good to go. Just looking for a higher low pullback to add to it. And getting into the long setups. First is Tesla, one of the more annoying stocks in the market. Definitely one that you want to be buying on weakness instead of strength. Why do I say that? Because it's basing. If you're trading a stock within a base, you have to buy it on weakness or a shakeout instead of buying on strength. Otherwise, you will get chopped up continuously every time it puts in a higher higher high, higher low, you'll probably get stopped out. So this one I took just off the 200-day moving average on September 3rd. Nice consolidation for 4 days over the 5-day moving average. You'd expect a little bit more strength given how strong the market's been, but it is just basing. I posted today, it's kind of insane that we're in the biggest tech boom since 2000 bubble market, and the stock and the CEO that you would picture as most AI focused, most technology focused, and is down 14% on the year. Kind of wild. Hopefully that changes because it's my largest position right now. But looking for a pullback in Tesla, undercut and rally of the 20-day EMA and support gap for just another higher low in the structure. And if we can eventually get over this like 358 area, I would assume that would be the breakout that would stick. But man, we have seen sellers come in and really hammer this stock. So not one that I want to be buying on strength. Roblox continues to build out. I love the island gap on the 50-day moving average that it put in here. Little gap down, consolidate, gap up, trapping any short sellers at this level. From there, just higher highs, higher lows. We get into this resistance gap a little bit. And because we have this overhead, I don't want to be buying this on strength. I want to be buying this on a shakeout so I can keep my risks tight. So the gap zone from yesterday's gap up, the 10-day moving average right at 128.14 is the spot that I'll be watching for, and then manage my risk against the 20-day EMA. ANET, awesome action as well. You can see all the accumulation bars on the 20-day EMA. That's usually a sign that it'll go higher. Now, just looking for a pullback into the gap zone low, the 10-day moving average over the next couple of days. Doesn't have to be tomorrow, but a name that I'll be focused on that pullback. OKLO, I took this trade yesterday through the pivot here. And today, a little bit of weakness. Like we came back up to this resistance or downtrend line. I very rarely use downtrend lines. This one lined up like so pretty. I wanted to put it on the chart. Typically don't like use this too much. But we do have another low volume close over a rising 5-day EMA in a group that is getting explosive. Uh, with the nice entry yesterday, looking to just add on strength through today's high, through the downtrend line break, and hopefully we can get some higher prices there. I love the shakeout under the 50-day moving average to the support gap low. Reacted to that to the penny on August 20th. Typically a good sign for the stock. And then sure enough, we get another higher low on the 50-day, tight day on Monday, and then breakout yesterday. RGTI, awesome action today. Just nice, tight, right near the high of yesterday's candle. Another higher low on the 50-day moving average. Basically the best like daily chart, weekly chart that I see in the market right now that hasn't broken to the upside just yet. Moved from 74 cents up to $21. Spent the rest of the year digesting. Three touches of a rising 50-day moving average, continuing to show support at that area. Now, just on strength through 1660 is a potential buy or add spot. DHI, kind of covered this with ITB, but some home builder stocks that are pulling back to either a key moving average like the 10-day or the 20-day, or a gap zone, ideally both, are spots that I want to be laser focused on because I do expect that we'll get some rate cuts, especially with PPI coming in under expectation today. So DHI got a little extended in the short term, lost the 5-day yesterday, a little bit more weakness today. Now just looking for an undercut of the gap zone at 172.25 as a potential entry. Stop would be the 20-day EMA on that one. Let me just jump to PHM. Very similar setup. Got extended in the short term, pulling back into the 10-day. We have the support gap there. So a little undercut of that versus the 20-day for some home building stocks. Otherwise, you could just play an AIL if you just want exposure to the entire group and a little bit leveraged exposure. PSTG, I talked about this a couple of times this week. Nice double bottom base, got nice and tight. Breakout on massive volume, closed really well, up 32%. Tight days of distribution, so any selling, you can see the open and close were very close to each other on all these red candle days. On the days we did get a gap down, we open on the low, close on the high, open on the low, close on the high. Today we gap up, close back over the HVC and over this little resistance gap that we had. Now just looking for a retest of the 5-day moving average in the gap zone as a potential entry, and then the stop would be either 2% or whatever it is under this daily low. Another stock that reclaimed its HVC was AEO. Awesome move today. Back through the previous day's high, closed right at the high of the day. Not a ton of volume today. I was actually surprised that it wasn't as much, but finished up 7%. Now just looking for a retest of the high volume close as a potential entry. Stop would be the 5-day EMA on that. Ideally, we get like another push, like a 1-day push, and then we come back to the HVC. If I'm remembering this correctly, I want to say that's what Abercrombie did. Watch this be wrong. Um, Zoom out. So it was the second earnings gap up that really got going. Yeah, here we go. So we had a little bit of consolidation under the HVC after the 30 something percent pop, same with AEO. Uh, we pushed through the pivot and then we pulled back for 2 days, tested that in the 5-day moving average, and then really took off from there. That's exactly what I'm looking at here. So if we can get one more day push up, then retest the HVC, the 5-day moving average would catch up at that point, and that's the spot that I'm really excited for. Elf Beauty, little resistance gap up here that we're chopping at, pulling back into the 10-day moving average and support gap, undercut, kind of like a breakout retest would be the buy point for me. Stop would be the 20-day EMA. PAAS, we know how strong metal and mining stocks are right now. Just looking for a pullback into the 10-day and the gap zone right at 34.60 as a potential entry. Use a 3 or 4% stop on that one, but lots of power in this name and this theme. So pullbacks to key moving averages and gap zones are the spots that I'll be watching for. UUUU very recently had a little undercut of a support gap under the 10-day, ricocheted higher. Now tight or red day close over the 5-day EMA on less volume. Not a bad thing in my mind, just consolidation after yesterday's move higher. If we could pull back into the HVC, you have the 5-day moving average there at that 1230 area. Further distribution, which for me would be ideal because we have a gap zone, we have the 10-day moving average. It's a little bit more aggressive of a shakeout. So coming down here to like 1185 or so would be a secondary spot to watch. The next three are all software stocks. First is PGY. Talked about this plenty of times. Continues to just chop around here. Now we have a 20-day moving average coming up through the support gap zone. So an undercut of both of those and a reclaim of the low is the entry. The stop would be probably like $33. Keep your risk. I'd keep it a little bit tighter than that. Probably like a 3% stop. DAVE, one of the leaders of this market since we bottomed back in 2023, joined the party a little bit late, but went from $4 up to $280. So who's complaining about being a little late to the bull market? Now, nice consolidation, very similar to what we saw with IGV. And one of my favorite setups in the market is a higher low test of a 50-day moving average. You come down, rally back up to it, and then set a pivot. Usually the pivot's a little lower, and you could have argued that like yesterday was the pivot breakout down at 201. I would say you're actually probably correct there. But nice consolidation today, right at those similar highs, right at the 50-day moving average. So through 219 is the buy point. Stop would be the 5-day moving average. And then Pony, we've talked about Chinese equities. I think that's a group to focus on going forward. And PONY kind of mixes that software theme strength with the Chinese theme strength. Another higher low, just under the 50-day moving average, shook out people. Really wasn't participating in the rally much, so kind of got off my radar. Got back on it yesterday as we were up, what, 7.8% back through the 5, the 10, the 20-day moving averages. Today, a little uppercut and fail of that gap zone, but consolidated on lower volume. Just through today's high is a potential buy. Stop would be today's low. And then once again, I still don't have a ton of short setups to cover. We're just in such a strong market, and there's a lot of carnage if you're trying to short momentum stocks in this market. I saw someone in the Discord talk about, hey, maybe we should short open. And in this market, I would be very careful shorting anything like that. And sure enough, Open names a new CEO, and I think they're up towards like 850, right? Yeah, hit 850 after hours for like 35% move. So it's just a very, very tough market to be shorting. I just want to be consistent in these videos and still short or show long and short setups, but I'm definitely more focused on the long side still. The one short I do have is a position in MSTZ, which is the double leveraged inverse of MSTR. And that's because the stock has been such a dog. Uppercut and fail the resistance gap back on August 11th, followed through the downside on August 12th. I either took the short the 12th or the 13th, but it's been a really easy short to hold. We lost the 200-day moving average, bounced back up into it, and then immediately gapped down and was not able to fill that gap zone. Even on a day where Bitcoin showed relative strength, covered that earlier, MSTR is not showing any strength. We had a little bit of strength in the morning, uppercut and fail the 10-day moving average, uppercut and fail the resistance gap, close red on the day, down 0.6%, while Bitcoin was up and the rest of the market was up. So not a good sign for this stock unless you're short it. Looking for another uppercut and fail of the resistance gap, but a lower high, and then manage my risk against the high of today. Tim's Honestly, I thought this was going to break to the upside today. We had two uppercut and fails of this resistance gap right at the 50-day moving average. And then we started today with a sizable gap up. And typically when you like uppercut and fail, follow through the downside, ugly candle, but still a red candle over a 5-day EMA on light volume. And then you followed up with a gap up. And this had a lot of strength in the morning, getting back through the 50-day, getting back through the resistance gap. I thought it was going to really take off from there because I know it's a heavily shorted name and we're in a market that is punishing shorts right now. But by the end of the day, people still sold this down pretty aggressively. Closed at the low of the day, closed only up 0.13%. Now just looking for a little rally in the morning, loss of daily VWAP. Stop would be the 50-day moving average, and just above 50 on this one. Talked about BE as being a potential blow off top short. Not quite there yet. LITE, I would say, is right in line with that. We're starting to see some big volume while we're very extended from the 50-day moving average. Uh, we had an awesome day to buy this on an undercut of this support gap and the 20-day EMA, the first test of the 20-day after making a new high, usually a buy point or a good risk reward. And from that point, 111 to 170, just a monster move. But now we're really picking up in volume. We've got multiple gap ups as we're already extended. If we get a gap up tomorrow, I would be looking for like a green to red move, a loss of the daily VWAP, something like that. Perfect scenario for a blow off top short or parabolic short would be another big gap up, another big extension candle on huge volume, and then we get a gap up on Friday. That would kind of cement this as like an A plus short. Joby, gap up to the 20-day EMA today, immediately just hammered down on big volume, lost the 10-day moving average, lost the 5-day moving average, closed at the low of the day in a strong momentum market. Think that this stock is just kind of out of favor at this point. Looking for a little rally, but it has to be above the 10-day. If it can get to the top of the resistance gap, that would be ideal because then we could use the 20-day EMA and today's high as our stop and really tighten up our risk. But would be watching for like a loss of VWAP, a green to red move, something like that to short it. SEZL, one of the names that was a monster stock earlier this year from 25 up to 185. Since then, we've been putting in lower highs, huge loss on earnings, down 34%, trades sideways while the market rips higher, makes a new low, and then just a couple days railing back into a resistance gap below the 20-day EMA today. Opened on the high, closed on the low, back through the 5 and the 10-day moving averages. Um, Same kind of thing. A green to red move would be a short versus like the 10-day moving average or 92-ish. I don't want to give it all the way to the 20-day EMA because, again, this is a market that's punishing shorts. Don't want to give them a wider stop than I need to. And then finally, ZEPP. This, I think you could flip a coin on it and trade it either way. We're getting really tight price action above the 5-day moving average, but we keep uppercutting and failing at this resistance gap, which is very similar to what NEGG did before it topped. And now that we've traded for 5 or 6 days here, if you want to argue it's ready to break out, I could absolutely see another like couple candles like this, and we can march our way to 80 in a very short amount of time in a market like this. I would not be shorting this on strength. But on weakness, if we lose the 10-day moving average, if we lose the low from September 8th, then you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 trading days at these higher prices, trapping some people from what is it, 46 to 53 to hopefully send it a little bit lower. Again, I'm using NEGG as like my comparison. Similar action where we had a gap down off the highs, rallied up two tests of that resistance gap, sold off, and then really the day that this started to break down was when we lost kind of the previous low. So we confirmed a lower low after a lower high, or sorry, I guess lower high on a closing basis. But when we confirmed the lower low after trading in this range, that's when this really accelerated from 87 down to 31. Think we'll see similar price action on a ZEPP when we actually break down, but let it break down. Like this is going to have plenty of room to the downside when momentum snaps. Don't try to fight it on the way up. So that's going to be the daily market recap for Wednesday, September 10th. If you guys enjoyed the video, please leave a like and subscribe to my channel. And if you want my market takes throughout the trading day, along with the live stream at the market open and the trades that I take personally, you can sign up for the Discord using the link below. Have a great rest of your night, and I'll see you guys in tomorrow's video.